Welcome to Telewizja Republika. Ukrainian hackers linked to the security service of Ukraine SBU targeted OnCloud.ru, a crucial data center for the Russian military and its energy and telecom sectors. The attack, which compromised data crucial to over 10,000 Russian military industry entities, marks a significant intensification in the cyber warfare arena. We are glad to hear this kind of news. The operation, a joint effort by the Ukrainian hacker group Blackjack and the SBU cybersecurity wing, led to destruction of 300 terabytes of data. A message left on the OnCloud.ru site declared all entities serving the Russian Defense Ministry as legitimate targets, emphasizing the strategic aspect and use of cyber in this ongoing war. Bravo. Do some more, guys. Parallel to the cyber attack, Ukrainian forces targeted a Russian aviation training center in Borisogledsk and inflicted damage on the Russian missile ship Serpukhov near Kaliningrad, which is on the Baltic Sea. Well, it looks like last time when I checked, Ukraine does not border any state that is effectively on the Baltic Sea, and actually Ukraine is not on the Baltic Sea, and Kaliningrad or Königsberg actually is. It means that there had to be some significant and probably rather complicated operation of Ukrainian secret services to do it. These actions showcase the Ukraine's expanding military strategy against Russian assets and surely shows that there is some kind of cooperation with some other entities to make it possible. And this is a maritime operation, big time and effective maritime operation, this time on the Baltic Sea, not on the Black Sea that we kind of used to over the span of those more than 2 years of war. As physical and cyber hostilities and acts of obvious war and retaliation by Ukraine continue, diplomatic efforts are also in play. Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov was visiting China, so communists met communists to decide whether to cooperate and what is the extent, to what extent they will cooperate. This meeting underscored long-standing relation between Moscow and Beijing, between two communist states, with the state ruled by KGB's successor FSB and the state ruled by Communist Party of China, the same Communist Party of China that used to rule China since the beginning of the Communist Revolution in that state. This cooperation is expressing, of course, mutual support amid the ongoing Ukrainian war, or actually the Russian war in Ukraine, highlighting the broader geopolitical context of this war. As China watches Russia and actually pushes Russia to attack Ukraine, it waits for a good moment to do something on their side to challenge United States and attack one or two US allies in Asia. And not only South Korea and Taiwan are on the list. You can leave us your email here on rachoń.com, that's our website. That's our Substack account. We will send you back the reports if you leave us your email about the ongoing war against the West that we try to report on our program. My name is Michał Rachoń, this is Rachoń. And we roll in.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
And here to talk about all those things and many more is Joe Lindsley, who is reporting this war actually since the first days. Joe, where are you? It's not the regular location that we see you at.
Meow, hello from the streets of the city of Kharkiv, just about 30 miles from Russia. And maybe just about 2 hours ago, I was sitting here in this very spot. I'm on the outside of a coffee shop, a great place here. this Soviet hatchback is actually a seat at the coffee shop outside. And as I was preparing to do my daily radio show on Chicago WGN, it seems now that two Russian aerial bombs hit Kharkiv city near the center here, so not far from where I am, and quite loud explosions, but very extraordinary. I was here outside, and you don't see any panic. You know, it's
Yeah, that's my question. I mean, 1 hour or 2 hours ago, there was two bombs exploded in the proximity in the city center, and it looks like well, the life continues. Nothing is happening actually.
Well, even in the moment, you know, I mean, in between those two explosions, you know, some people kind of move faster, maybe to go inside, but no one was panicking and everyone was calm. And I think I was speaking earlier with a Kharkiv artist that said, it's, you know, the people are the soul of the city, and for everyone here, it's really important that their presence is important. As an act of defiance, as long as the city remains what it truly is. And this coffee shop, from which I'm speaking to you, is remarkable because they have several locations throughout Kharkiv, and in 3 weeks or so, they're going to be opening a new location in a frontline city. And this is an extraordinary thing about the Ukrainian spirit, about the entrepreneurial spirit of Ukrainians. You know, we hear so many sort of posh people at fancy conferences talk about the rebuilding of Ukraine. Well, that rebuilding is happening every day, even now. And just imagine this: you run a small coffee chain in Kharkiv, and you're deciding to open a new branch in a frontline place that is bombed day and night because they know that people need good coffee, soldiers and volunteers to keep going. And so that is this incredible spirit that I see, especially here in eastern Ukraine, especially in the city of Kharkiv.
Yeah, but as we speak, Joe, we read lots of reports, also in the European media, not only in US that we very often talk about, that there is some kind of discussion, preparation for peace talks, quote unquote, which generally mean just giving up parts of territory of Ukraine to Russia, and which basically means that the situation will come back. And Kharkiv, as a city, is mentioned as one of those cities that could be traded in a way. I do not believe that any people in Ukraine actually could agree to do something like this, but Kharkiv as a city seems to be on the Russian wish list as this war of attrition continues. I wonder, what's your take on those voices that we hear in Europe?
I've been here for about a week reporting. You know, when Anthony Blinken, the U.S. Secretary of State, was speaking in Paris, I think it was last week, he said, you know, very strongly, Kyiv will not fall into Russian hands. It's impossible that Kyiv will fall. But why won't he say Odessa? Why won't he say Kharkiv? And you see that they are setting the stage to give up major Ukrainian cities. You know, it's where, you know, for all of Trump's talk about, you know, he's a great negotiator, they all want to negotiate rather than have to find the courage to stand for freedom. And that's the precise reason why I am here in Kharkiv, because you see all of these people around me. Maybe as we finish, I can pan the camera around. You can see, but you know, the line.
So, Joe, we missed you. We missed what you just said.
You know,
Joe,
continues, and these are people that refuse to give up.
Joe, we missed what you just said because I didn't hear your voice.
You know, and I was speaking yesterday.
However, if we still have you, you said that you can turn the camera and show us the surroundings. It's actually very interesting. Could you do that? Because I'm sure that our viewers are really interested how the city looks like. I mean, as you just mentioned, it looks like there's a normal life over there. This is the coffee shop I assume that we were talking about.
Traffic going by.
Yeah, so it's
and this is, so you see, and this is, I think, the things that, you know, Americans, when they think of a place like Kharkiv, they think of like something like Haiti or Bakhmut. This is my problem even when Brett Baer of Fox News came here to interview President Zelensky. He never left his hotel in Kharkiv, and he described it sort of as a city under siege, which is precisely not what you see here. You know, and places that are bombed, they get rebuilt. I mean, this coffee shop, the windows, most of them are boarded up because 2 missiles hit the street in January. And yet the people, you know, continued to resist. And so that's why I believe in reporting from Kharkiv. Kharkiv shows the possibility of victory. When people say, what does victory mean for Ukraine? That might seem like something impossible. It's, how, to get Crimea back and for the Kremlin to fall. And it's overwhelming. But if you come here, you see that victory is a process every single day. But it's rebuilding on the micro level.
But it's obvious that the victory really is embedded, or should be, or have to be embedded in the nature or the activities and the way that the people who are resisting this kind of attack have. It should be inside of their souls. That's obvious. But on the other hand, to fight this war, Ukraine needs resources. And as we hear more and more people coming from the front lines to Europe, to also my home country, to Poland, are pointing to overwhelming power of Russian troops, that the Russian state changed its whole economics into a wartime mode, and it shows, and it's based on the lack of supplies on a certain level from the Western states. The situation on the front line shifts towards Russia. How long can Ukraine sustain? How long can Ukraine be and hold the line? That's the question that we ask ourselves here, not so far from Ukrainian border.
Well, and that's the scariest and most difficult question, and it is extremely difficult there in the front line. As Ukrainians are trying to hold. I mean, I had to go there every couple of weeks, delivering anti-drone backpacks to protect Ukrainians from incoming Russian drones. I was talking with people, humanitarian workers who were there, and a Russian drone was following them, like an Eye of Sauron. But it is incredibly intense and difficult. And yeah, Ukrainians are, they don't have the ammunition to even think about pushing back there. So this is exactly why, while Ukrainians are, hoping to get some people to wake up, you see more Europeans perhaps waking up. This is why I come here to Kharkiv to emphasize that victory is something that can work. And Ukrainians are also showing this in their innovative sort of, use or exclave, I guess, of Russia, surrounded by Poland and Lithuania. And we have this extraordinary news that Ukrainian special forces were able to hit and cause a fire, at least in a Russian ship there in the port in the Baltic Sea. So this is a territory of Russia that's not connected to Russia. The Russians have occupied it since World War II. And the Ukrainians are showing that they can go on these stealth sneak attacks, just as they did over a week ago, sending Ukrainian drones deep into Russian territory to destroy a facility that produces the kamikaze drones that terrorize Ukraine all the time. And when Ukrainians do this, it'd be nice if they got good headlines, because that would build momentum and people start to say, oh, this can actually work. We believe in the possibility of victory, but they don't get good headlines.
Yeah, or they don't get headlines at all, because it looks like this kind of news is no news.
Yeah, it's barely news, unless, for example, the United States chooses, as Anthony Blinken did, speaking in Paris, to criticize Ukraine and not encourage Ukraine. And actually, the French foreign minister sort of reprimanded in public. Anthony Blinken said, Ukraine has to do whatever it can to win. But, maybe I don't think we talked about this, but the BBC headline after.
Yeah, the reception is bad, really, in the place where you are.
Hit that drone production facility 1,200 kilometers. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Now I can hear
you. And that is, by the way, it's something that I forget to mention, but the connection problems can be difficult here, and often we have no power in Kharkiv. That's you forget about it because the city continues to function, but many places often have no water and no electricity here, and even then the city's continuing. I forgot to mention that because you get used to it with this atmosphere of resilience. But the BBC headline when Ukraine had that extraordinary attack on the Russian drone production facility, was Ukraine drone strike injures 12. And just to absolutely minimize what Ukrainians are doing. So they face this problem in the media. They face this problem when they get criticized by Washington. And, it's very interesting, as some people here are saying, now Ukrainians are attacking Russian targets in the Baltic Sea because there's not much left to hit in the Black Sea.
Yeah, so does it mean that Ukraine actually effectively controls the Black Sea? That's what where we came to?
I mean, it's not, nothing's complete, of course, but in a real way, yes. I mean, look, one of the best measurements of this, Ukraine is exporting, and we can't repeat this enough, more grain through the Black Sea than they did when they had that so-called negotiated deal with Russia, brokered by Turkey and the UN. So they're, by ingenuity, by military expertise, by taking out Russian ships, Ukrainians are exporting more grain than when they had that so-called deal with Russia, which forbade them from attacking Russian ships. Now they're free to do it, and it's working. And in fact, they're almost exporting as much grain as before the full-scale invasion. This should be a major headline everywhere. It's a huge accomplishment. And if Ukraine can get more attention on those positive things, then that can start to show people in Congress and other places,
yeah, but,
hey, look, this is actually working.
But why is that?
All you have to do is provide ammunition.
Joe, why is that? We know, everybody who knows the true nature of the nowadays media understand the meaning of what Marshall McLuhan called agenda setting. I mean, there are people who decide whether something is or is not in news. And it's not just happening like out of blue air. This is a decision, and people are making this decision on a daily basis in the newsrooms, in the TV studios. And for some reason, they decide not to make this kind of things big international news, and they decide to put this kind of focus on 12 injured people, not on the tens of thousands that lost their lives in attacks of kamikaze drones that are produced in Russia in certain facility, hit by Ukrainian daring and brave operation far away from Ukrainian borders. Why? What's the meaning of it? What is the meaning of the words that Antony Blinken said, a representative of state that invested a lot of money to support Ukraine over the span of those more than 2 years?
Well, I think if we look at the media angle, it's just the nature of journalists. I mean, it's hard to report the absence of a problem. I mean, just like I almost did that here today. I mean, I forgot to report almost that we barely have power and electricity most of the time here in Kharkiv, because I'm here, we get used to it, and Ukrainians aren't complaining about it. They just solve the problem, and because they're not complaining about it, it's not news in a way. So that's one thing. But I think also when we look at the political level, there is still a deep fear of Russia. This is where we see President Macron has transformed. You could say 2 years ago, look at his rhetoric, he was definitely afraid. That speech he gave about a month ago, he was not afraid. He seemed that much of that fear had fled. But we still see this level of fear in Washington. And this is, I feel in a real psychological way. I mean, even when I'm in Lviv in Western Ukraine, and I think about coming to Kharkiv, you feel a little bit sick. You feel a little bit afraid. But once you're here and you're surrounded by that energy and you actually see the possibility that Ukrainians can hold on and thrive, then you begin to lose that sense of fear. And so really a lot of it just comes down to psychology. And I think far away in Washington, the rhetoric of the Kremlin...
You really mean it's just a matter of psychology? Because I think it looks to me like this is a kind of preparing or showing or building up a kind of social feeling in the media world that, yeah, we are in a position where we have to negotiate finally. We've spent too much time dealing with Russia. Russia is effectively controlling Donbass and Luhansk and Crimea. So Ukraine has to give up, leave the people who are over there behind, behind the enemy lines, leave the people over there. Maybe join NATO, maybe allow French or other troops to be deployed on the territory of what left of the Ukraine, and then in 10 years or 5 years time we will come back to the same problem because Russia will strike again. I mean, it looks like preparing the world public opinion for this scenario.
I agree. I mean, that again, that's precisely why I'm here in Kharkiv. Maybe 2 months ago, there was a top reporter from America here in the city, and this person said to me, "Oh, it's too bad that all of these, we were in this coffee shop here. Too bad that all these people around us don't realize that their city is going to fall into Russian hands." This person said it out loud in front of Ukrainians and people of Kharkiv, and this has been the prevailing attitude in Washington. It's a
Maybe
very
that's not
arrogant
the attitude, maybe it's knowledge. Maybe the deal was
Well,
done
yeah,
and people were informed.
Yeah, well, clearly there's a plan for this. I mean, there's a reason why Anthony Blinken will say Kyiv won't fall, but he won't say that about Kharkiv or Odessa. Yes, there's a reason for it. Yes, after 2 years, for example, of waiting for F-16s, it's pretty clear to me that Washington is not interested in sending F-16s to Ukraine until there is some kind of partition, until there is some kind of agreement. And they keep saying, "Oh, we'll send F-16s in 3 months," because they think Ukraine will have partially fallen, and that doesn't happen, and so they have to keep pushing it back.
Yeah.
But this is the pattern from Washington, and this is why I think if we push, see, Republicans are so many of them are swept up by Putin's propaganda. But if they could see that the White House is not clearly pushing for victory, maybe they would start to wake up. Yesterday, I went to a Roman Catholic church here in Kharkiv city, or 2 days ago. You could see Russia on the horizon from the church. And I was talking with the priest. He said, Russia is a nation enslaved by demons. We feel it deeply here every day. And he pointed out, if Russians occupy this city, every Catholic church will be closed. Everyone you saw when I panned the camera will be in jail or killed because they have resisted the tyranny. And if you can get Republicans in particular to really realize that, that this is sort of the Cajun Navy of nations, the nation of people who so deeply believe in freedom, there's a chance then that the Republicans can get out of this rut that they're in and begin to put pressure on the White House to wake up and actually send ammunition.
There is a good reason for which back in the early 20th century there was a prophecy by Saint Mary that Russia has to be offered to Jesus Christ, and that's what we Catholics, at least I do believe in, which is a part of a knowledge and of the position of Catholic Church. And this is one of those big prophecies. We don't know all of them, but one of them was precisely about that, about Russia being taken over by demons. And that's, at least for the people who believe, and I'm one of those, is a part of official position of Catholic Church. So I'm not surprised by what you've heard, because it seems that this is exactly what those three little girls heard from Saint Mary.
Okay. Exactly, and I'm glad you mentioned that. And by the way, it wasn't just religious prophecy. In the 1800s, Dostoevsky's novel about Russian politics was called Demons.
Yeah.
And when I was visiting that church a couple of days ago, 20 miles from Russia, the priest and the nuns there were talking about that prophecy in Fatima, that the world must pray for the conversion of Russia. That was in 1917, the year of the Bolshevik Revolution. And right as we were talking about that, all of a sudden, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we got hit by 6 Russian bombs over this city. Right as I was there in that ivory stucco church, this like spiritual outpost at the front lines, that very moment talking about the demons the warnings of demons in Russia, we got attacked here in Kharkiv city. It was a very chilling and eye-opening moment.
If our viewers sometimes ask themselves the questions for the reasons why people are interested in, why people like Joe spend their life in the places where each time, each moment, each day they can be hit by the missiles, and why people like myself and our crew, we are interested in this war, well, that's the reason. This is an ongoing big fight of good and evil, and I have no doubt, and we do not have basically doubts about what is the nature of this, what comes from Russia. Joe, stay safe.
Yeah. And Miguel, can I say quick? It all comes down to how we choose to act, right? And this is the extreme edge of it. But Ukrainians chose in 2014 not to be evil, to get away from Russia. That's what the heart of this is. So, Michal, always great to talk to you. Here from the right now, at the moment, the calm streets of Kharkiv, a couple hours after yet another Russian attack.
Joe, all the prayers for you and all those brave people who stand there and hold the line still, as we report it on a weekly basis. Stay safe, Joe. See you soon. Ciao.
Dziękuję.
Dzięki. Ladies and gentlemen, you can join us here on rachoń.com. We try to send you reports on the most important information from the front lines of this ongoing big war against the West, the world that we see, as we just mentioned, as a part of a big war fight, good against evil. Yes, and we do think that the Western civilization is the good part. See you soon. Ciao. Bye-bye.